These bragging words and warnings were too much. Ascanius drew back his horse-gut bowstring, his arrow, stretched his arms apart, and pausing, prayed first, a suppliant with vows to Jove. All-able Jupiter, be kind to my audacious try, for I myself shall bring my yearly offerings into your temple. Before your altars I shall set a dazzling white bullock with gilt brow, tall as his mother, and old enough to butt with horns, his pawing hoofs scattering the sand. The Father heard, and from a cloudless part of heaven he then thundered on the left. That very instant the fatal bowstring twangs. The arrow, taut, speeds on with dreadful hissing, driving through the head of Remulus, and with its steel pierces his hollow temples. Go now, mock our bravery with words that taunt. This is the answer sent by twice defeated Phrygians back to Rutulians. He said no more. The Trojans, glad, applaud Ascanius. Their shouting lifts their spirit to the stars. It happened then that from the upper air, while seated on a cloud, long-haired Apollo was looking down upon the Trojan city and on the army of Ausonia. He speaks to the triumphant Iülus. Grow in your new courage, child, O son of gods and ancestor of gods. This is the way to scale the stars. All fated, future war shall end in peace beneath a Syracuse house. For the walls of Troy cannot contain you. And saying this, he flashes from steep heaven and parts the panting winds and seeks Iülus. But first he takes the shape of aged beauties. Once he was armor-bearer to Anchises and trusted keeper of his gate, but later the father of Ascanius had made him the boy's companion. As he walked, Apollo in every way was like the old man, voice and coloring, white hairs and clanging weapons. He calms excited Iülus with these words. It is already much, son of Aeneas, that by your shafts you have laid low Numanus, yourself unharmed. The great Apollo grants the glory of this first success, and he does not begrudge your matching him in arms. But after this, my boy, enough of war. This said, Apollo, even as he spoke, put off his mortal form and vanished far from sight into thin air. The Dardan chieftains had recognized the god and his divine arrows. They heard his quiver rattle as he flew away. And so, because of Phoebus' word and his will, they curb Ascanius, still anxious for fresh battle. They themselves rush out again to fight, to risk their lives in open perils. All around the walls a roar runs through the bulwarks as they bend their bitter bows and whirl their slings. The ground is littered far and wide with missiles. Shields and hollow helmets clash and clang. The battle grows ever bloodier, just as a gale that, born beneath the stormy Hyades, will rush out from the west and flail the ground, or hail that whips the shoals when Jupiter, rough with his turning south winds, twists the squall of water, cracks the heavens' hollow clouds. Then two sons of Alcanor, Pandarus and Bitias, raised in the wood of Jove on Ida by the nymph Iaira, two young men, the match of their own native firs and mountains, held the gate assigned to them by order of their chieftains. But relying on arms alone, they freely open this, invite their enemies inside the walls, and they themselves take posts inside the entrance, before the towers to the right and left. They are armed with swords, their tall heads glittering with plumes, even as twin oak trees that rise high in the air along clear streams, beside the river banks of Padus, or nearby kind Athesis, when they lift up their shaggy heads unto heaven, nodding their steep crowns. When they can see the entrance free, the Latins burst in, but straightway Quirkins, reckless Tamaris, Aquiculus, most handsome in his armor, and Haemon, son of Mars, are beaten off with all their men, and turn their backs in flight, or lose their lives upon the very threshold. Now anger grows more fierce in minds that hate. The Trojans rally to the gateway, daring to battle hand to hand. They sally out. Turnus is raging elsewhere in the attack, bringing confusion to his foes. But then he hears the news that, hot with their new kill, the enemy have opened wide their gates. He drops what he began, moved by tremendous wrath. He now rushes toward the Dardan entrance and those proud brothers. And the first he kills, casting his javelin, is Antiphates, a bastard son of great Sarpedon, born out of a Theban mother, as he stands foremost. For the Italian shaft of dogwood flies through thin air. It drives into his belly and then twists upward into his deep chest. The wound's dark mouth pours out a wave of foam. The steel tip warms itself in his pierced lungs. He next kills Meropis and Aramis, Aphidnus, and then Bitias himself, for all his glaring eyes and raging mind, not with a javelin, for that could never take Bitias's life away, but with a whirling Saguntine pike that raced with mighty hissing, one driven like a bolt of thunder. Neither his shield with two bulls' hides, nor the twin row of golden scales upon his trusty corslet could stand against it. His tremendous limbs collapse and fall. Earth groans. His giant shield comes crashing down upon him. Even so, along the coast of Baiae, near to Cumae, at times a stony pier, built to great size, which then is set into the sea, will fall, and as it tumbles, trails just such destruction, dashing to rest beneath the shoals. The seas are in a turmoil, and the black sands heave. And Procita's steep island trembles at that roar, and Inarimi's stone bed, laid down by Jove's command, above Typhoeus shudders.